following program on Ada Derana 24 is classified as PG. It is intended for younger children in the company of an adult. It may contain some suggestive dialogue, infrequent coarse language, some sexual situations, or some moderate violence. Viewer discretion is advised. The following program contains opinions of the participants and does not reflect the views and beliefs of the Derana Media Network. The network believes in a safe space for all ideas to be expressed without any censorship and on its duty to create such a platform for free speech. Viewer discretion is strictly advised.
Hello and welcome to another episode with TPS. So we were discussing along the line about the current political landscape and how it is with the post-local government elections throughout the last couple of weeks. So today we are going to dig deep into how the economic situation is in Sri Lanka, because I believe with all this hustle and bustle of the local government elections and electing the nominees and also getting into power, I think all of us, including our people and also our political leaders, feel like they've diverted from the most important segment of realizing where our economic aspect is of Sri Lanka. So to discuss about the economic crisis, because I believe since 1948 as we got independence, this has been a critical juncture for Sri Lankans, because this economic crisis since 2022 has been something that all of us are trying to recover ever since, and where all the political leaders are been working hard and also bringing out structural reforms to connect the dots. So to discuss about this aspect, I have two gentlemen here with me today. So to my left, I have Mr. Uthsara Dunusinghe, Executive Committee Member of the National Youth Front of the United National Party. Welcome you to the program. And also I welcome Professor Priyantha Morapitiya from the Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna. Welcome you as well.
Thank you.
So as I said, we've diverted a bit in terms of how our economic situation is in Sri Lanka. So I'll direct this question both for you all. I'll start with you as in terms of the economic crisis. Now I believe in your stance, in your political party stance, how do you think is the economic situation? Is it sort of recovering, or is it having underlying issues? Because at the forefront itself, we see like certain teeny tiny improvements. In your take, how do you feel about this situation?
Yes, thank you for having me. Well, it is certainly evident that we are recovering from it. We are still recovering from it. Now, first, we need to identify what caused the economic crisis if we want to find a solution. And in our own opinion, we could see that there were two main reasons for the economic crisis to arise in 2022. And firstly, we have to get rid of the ideology or the doctrine which has been embedded in the society to say that this is a fault of 70 years for everyone who was in power for the past 7 decades. That's not the case. Because all governments, regardless of the political party, they have done something for this country, something useful, and this is somewhat of a welfare state. All our governments, they have had free education, free healthcare. It's easy to blame, but it's very difficult to maintain such services free of charge to the citizens of a country. So all governments did continue them, because, for example, free education, it's just not that term free education. There are close upon 10,155 government schools in this country, in which around 4.2 million students are having their education, and it's not only the tuition fees. They are being provided the services, and around 235,000 teachers are still in active service, and then pensions should be paid to the other teachers who have retired, other allowances. So it's not an easy job, but still every government, it was Dr. C.W. Kannankara who introduced free education, who was also from the UNP. However, all ministers of education, they could have might as well said, well, it's a big burden on the state, but no one stopped. Even during the economic crisis, the government did not stop that. So there's a huge burden on the government. I just brought up only one segment, free education. So having that, in 2022, what happened was, soon after the election, which is quite normal for a government to switch the policies.
Yeah.
So they want to reduce the taxes. Then elect a government, want to reduce the taxes. And that was, I would say, a politically miscalculated move, because they want to contrast from the earlier government.
Right.
I'm not going to say whether it was a right decision or wrong decision, because no government wants to take a bad decision to become unpopular. Every government wants to keep the people happy.
Yeah.
And the first decision was cutting of taxes. When you cut taxes, you just lose the revenue. We'll forget about economics. Imagine a household.
Yeah.
If the income sources are cut down, then but still we are spending free education, free healthcare, all other services. So we're still spending while we have reduced our income.
Right.
And obviously it's going to lead to a crisis. But what was the second decision? Second decision was also connected to the first decision as well. What went wrong was they started printing money. Why did they print money? That was because we cut down our income. The taxes.
Yeah.
So printing of money usually results in the, so when you print money, you inject additional money to the economic system, the economy,
Yeah.
which is the money supply in the economy.
Exactly.
When the money supply goes up, then the value of money will also reduce. That is basic economics. Higher the supply, lower the value, lower the price. And when the money supply increased through artificial printing, then obviously the value of money also went down. It's not just one commodity we are talking about.
Yes.
In a commodity, if you have the commodity more, obviously supply will increase and the price will go down.
Yeah.
But this is money.
Yeah.
So similarly, the value went down. But on the other hand, inflation also increased. Why? When people have more money, the purchasing power goes up. So people demanded to buy more goods and services. Then the goods and services price, which is called inflation, went up.
Yeah.
And that was not affordable in the country. So these are the two main reasons. But I should say, in terms of the question you asked, now we are recovering, and the government which took over after 2022, after economic crisis, they introduced certain acts. Certain acts. For example, earlier we had the Monetary Law Act, which was obviously around 70 years old. But it was amended for the first time in the year 2023, if I'm not wrong. Act number 16, Central Bank Act number 16 of 2023, that repealed and replaced the Monetary Law Act. And in this old act, it said in section 55(3), as I remember, the government can print money to finance a budget deficit.
Okay.
But the new act has removed that. In other terms, under the new law, you can't do that. You are no longer, no government, because this is, regardless of party politics, this is about a country we're talking about.
Obvious.
So regardless of who comes to office, we should make sure that everyone sticks to one policy. That's why it was put to law. For the past 7 decades, it was not introduced in law. But now, after the economic crisis, the government who came into power, they introduced this law where you can no longer finance the budget deficits. So if that made sure that the government should be responsible enough to, however, finance your budget using the other resources. You can't print money. So that made sure you will not make the same mistake again. You won't print money again. You won't do that. So that was one act. Then secondly, there was another one, the prevention of the Anti-Corruption Act. I'm sorry, Anti-Corruption Act. The Anti-Corruption Act again made sure, because that was a big woe people had, what happens to the resources or the money that had been stolen or looted by any person, not only politicians, government servants, but through this act, which was also, I think, Act number 9 of 2023. It made sure that there's a legal mechanism to recover stolen assets. As a legal mechanism to make sure that politicians or government servants or directors of boards of directors, they have to, and even their families, they have to show their assets. They have to prove their assets. So there's transparency, and now only there's a law to recover the stolen assets as well. Though certain governments said that they can recover the stolen assets, there was no law to prosecute them. So certain politicians, well-known politicians, they were arrested, they were, they were subject to litigation. That was under this law. Until 2023, there was no law. So these two acts, principal enactments, they make sure that this error, this mistake will not happen in the future again, regardless of whoever in office, whichever the party. So now, certainly we are developing and we are recovering because we have this legal framework, and there were certain other acts also, I won't take much of a time, but there were certain acts also which prevented you from taking excessive loans from other countries.
All right, thank you so much, Uthsara. I believe he brought out a very particular breakdown as to how it was and how it is getting into, and there's so much of positivity and optimism going on here, because we need to see the light through the tunnel as well in terms of this economic crisis. So I'm directing the same question to you as well. So in terms of your perspective, your own opinion or your party's opinion, how do you feel about the current economic situation of Sri Lanka?
First, thank you very much for inviting me for this very, very important, timely important session. Thank you very much, Derana, and thank you very much, Ms. Priyantha. Okay, so let me start. First, we have to think about the cause and effects.
Yeah.
Okay, that's where we have to start. So before that, I must say, right, according to the written 2019, so when we have a problem, when we are trying to analyze a problem, we have to think about where, when, what, why, and how. All these 5 questions to be answered.
Yeah.
So where? That is in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
When? Currently. What? Economic crisis.
Yes.
And now we have to answer how and why we solve these issues.
Exactly.
That's the starting point.
Yeah.
Okay, so as Mr. Dunusinghe very clearly said, he came out very good positive points. I'm agreeing with some of the points. And at the same time, so first we have to identify the root causes. When you are trying to solve problems, you should be able to give the solution not to the symptoms, but to the root causes. Okay, right. So under my, so these are my personal opinions anyway, and I am representing the nationalism.
Yeah.
Because the party comes after the country. That's my own belief.
Yeah.
Right. First, I am a citizen of Sri Lanka.
Exactly.
Thanks to taxpayers' money, I have come to this level. First, I have to thank to the taxpayers in Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
So, according to my understanding, I think that this is the first time you are hearing about this topic, right? So, every one of you know very well the late veteran journalist Mr. Victor Ivan once said that the terrorism has destroyed $200 billion in Sri Lanka. Right? This is not my own statement, but the late veteran Mr. Victor Ivan. So I say that it is almost double. That's the root cause. That's the root cause. Why double? That's the root cause. I will now come with a small example. Right? So I think that Mr. Dunusinghe also pointed out that some people are rooting money. Some people are looting money, and some people are stealing money, maybe politicians, maybe government servants, or whoever, right? So if you took some money that will be still there in anywhere in the world, anywhere in the universe, right? But if you destroy it, that will be out of the planet. Right? That's what you have to understand first. Now I will come to point. So here we have 100,000 rupees, right? So 100,000 rupees, and somebody comes here and he takes that and he will leave the place, right? So that is what you mean stealing or looting or whatever, right? But that 100,000 is still anywhere in the world circulated. Maybe in white face or maybe in black face. It's still there, right? But what if you destroy that 100,000 rupees? That will be out of entire world. And then, now I am coming to the point, right? So according to the late veteran Mr. Victor Ivan said, 200 billion, right? So that is just quantitative loss. What about the qualitative loss?
Yeah.
Immeasurable. Immeasurable, right? So anyway, if you take the 200 billion, just assume that.
Yeah.
So now that's the loss. So to pay off that loss, you have to bring some money from somewhere else. Okay? And you are bringing another 200 billion.
Right.
Now it's okay.
Yeah.
So what about the opportunity cost of that 200 billion?
Exactly.
Then how much is the total loss? 400 billion. Have you ever heard this thing? Right? You have heard that people are looting money. Yes, I agree with that point.
Yeah.
But that money is still there in somewhere there. Maybe in Sri Lanka, maybe in foreign country, that is circulating in the economy. Right? They have taken the money, they will not put their money inside the safes or wherever. That are still in the economy. So people are getting the benefits out of that. Maybe directly or maybe indirectly.
Right.
But if you destroyed, that will be the end.
Yeah.
So you have to bring some money from somewhere else. That is the root cause. Right? So if you can remember, I can't exactly remember the year, the Singapore, the great Lee Kuan Yew once said that, maybe around 1955, said that we have to look at how Sri Lanka is doing economically, and we have to practice their economic and educational reforms.
I'm going to cut you short from there, Professor. We'll continue with the next segment, the same conversation that we had.
Yeah.
So let's take a short commercial break where we dig deep into the discussions that we were having in this segment. So this is TPS, and see you on the other side. Welcome back to TPS. We were discussing about the current economic situation of Sri Lanka. And actually I was asking from Professor Morapitiya about what his stance is about the current economic crisis. So I stopped you at one point. Can you please continue from there on?
Yeah, now so that's the root cause.
Yeah.
Right? There are many other causes, right? But that's the root cause. So we have to identify the root cause first.
Right.
Other things are coming next.
Yeah.
Right? So after that, right, as I told you very clearly, the great Singaporean Prime Minister, Mr. Lee Kuan Yew said, maybe in 1955, somewhere around, right? By that time he was not the leader, he was just a minister. He said that we wanted to move forward like Sri Lanka, right? So in 1955, so what happened to us?
Yeah.
This terrorism came back, if I am not mistaken, somewhere around 1965. So the root cause is I am not going to name them, the terrorism, directly and indirectly. And also, there was another terrorism called, they impacted into this entire economy.
Right.
Maybe some other, not directly, not by the weapons, but the other ways, economic terrorists, right? So if they were not there, Sri Lanka would have gone past Singapore by now, right? So that's it. Anyway, as Mr. Dunusinghe very clearly said, we had some problems, right? Taxation problems and everything. But I am telling you very clearly, if Corona did not come to Sri Lanka at this level, whatever the government would have done smoothly.
Right.
That's very clear. So we have to go back to the 2019, right? And before that, we had another government. Before that, we had another government like that. Anyway, let's just forget about that.
Right.
Because as he very clearly said, we have to think about our country first. The politics comes next, right? So when the president, Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa came into the power, he reduced the VAT, taxes. The government lost the billions of the rupees, right? He knew about that. He knew. Do you think that he does not know about that? He knew. But he did not knew that Corona coming after that.
Right.
Okay. So that's the key. That's the issue. Not the reduction of the tax. The Corona came after that. right? So that was the problem. After that, there were another big problem. So anyway, I will structure my things and socio-economic impact, key milestone, the IMF intervention. So that's the very key. And recovery stage, yes, definitely we have been recovering.
Yeah.
But very slowly.
Very
slowly. And recommendations for the recovery, yes, there are many. But the present government has lot of educated people. They will do it. I don't know how they do. So in the corona times, if you can remember, money was printed. Yes, that was due because of the corona. Right? At that time, people, every one of you and me, wanted to survive. Right? They didn't. I can remember very well. So they said that we can make the economy later, but at this time we have to save our people. So that's the place where we had the problems. Right? That's the place where we had the problem. That's where key issues came. So the reduction of the VAT affected after that. Then you need money. And as he said, so you had money but no items available in the market. The inflation came into the effect. Everything came due to the corona.
Right.
Then you can ask that what about the other countries? Almost every country faced this problem, but they face differently. They face differently. When we had the corona, the whole opposition had to come to the same stage like here, and they had to solve the problems, but they never did that. So what they did, right? What they did, they tried to manipulate the situation to topple the government, because they did not have any way of toppling the government at that time. So all these elements were, right? All these elements were manipulated to topple the government. That was the key, right? So they did not have any plans after that, right? So Gotabaya was President Gotabaya was the victim of that, right? So that's after that, right? After that, the President Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe came and he restored the law and order. Only that he did. Only that. Other things are normal. Right? When the law and order are in place, everything, right, more or less
falls into place.
Becoming normal. Right? So that's what he did. But we have to thank him because he restored the law and order. That's the key. Right? So within 2 or 3 years, I think maybe around 2 years, he did everything. Right? Now the present president does not have any problems at the moment. No corona, no war, right? So he has everything he has. Right? Now tourism is there, right? Now what is the problem? I personally believe that the present government is doing nothing significantly. Government is doing, that's normal. If you don't have any problem, so you can do something. That's normal, but the people's expectations are very high. Right? So, as he said very clearly, the government should try to bring some new economic policies.
Right.
But I don't see. So what if, it's very straightforward. So what about the solar power energy? So the whole world is moving forward, moving towards to the solar power or alternative energy sources. But our government, I don't know why, is going back. Right? So these are the areas where government has to think about that. And as he said very clearly, the government is trying to do some social services. For example, free education. Right? Free education, it is given, yes, it's a must, I believe. But for you, for me, and for everybody, do you believe that? Right? So for example, when my children were going to the schools, they got the uniforms and books and everything. And even my servants got the same thing. So, no point of. then priorities should be identified first.
Yeah.
The free things should be given to those needy people,
Yes.
not to the every people. Not to the every people.
So I'm going to take it from there to our next question. Thank you so much, Professor, for that very descriptive and a very well explained response in terms of what it is in the situation of the economic crisis of Sri Lanka. So I'm going to ask from you, Uthsara, now when it comes to the IMF, we all know we've been hearing this word constantly, and we've been getting loans, we're getting support, and there have been so much of discussions, and also we had and have the fourth carry on taking as well, because we have a pivotal juncture where they will decide as to if they are giving us more loan support as well. So in this context now, do you feel the way that the current government is utilizing IMF is into short-term motives, and that they need to think through the long-term aspect as well? Or else how do you think they need to put perspective into using or helping getting the support of IMF?
Yes, that's a very good question. Now, the IMF was a key player in the process of recovering for us.
Yeah.
But as you very correctly articulated, the government, the present government led by President Anukumara Dissanayake, is somewhat bound to follow their rules, not rules, I'd say, the program.
The framework.
Yes,
Yeah.
because if we do not, then we'll have to face the consequences.
Yeah.
That does not necessarily say that we are trading our independence or economic autonomy to the IMF.
Yeah.
Now, as I said earlier also, we have already laid down the legal principles, the legal acts, the legal environment, so that no government can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
So everyone has to focus on the economy, and they have to make sure that the economy is recovering. They can't be selfish. They can't take short-term, as you said, short-term plans, short-term paths. No, they can't do that. Because another act, Act number 45, if I'm not wrong, Act number 45 of 2024, Economic Transformation Act, in the ETA. Now, that is, I think, the first time in Sri Lanka where we have a statute which included the goals, economic goals to be achieved every year.
Okay.
Not every year, but it has said 2028, we're going to achieve this, 2032, this, 2040. So they have broken down the economic, the recovery process.
Right.
So that's very important. So be the UNP, be the SLPP, be it the SJB or NPP, whoever it is, they have to stick to the law, because the law is supreme and it's superior than every other citizen.
Exactly.
And when it comes to the IMF, it supported us.
Right.
And this government, they are managing, as Professor very correctly pointed out, they are just managing the country, which any party could do. But we can see clearly, there's a clear distinction. This government is unable to cater the promises which they made prior to the election. Because it's easy for any person to criticize or to say, okay, this is how we are going to do if we are in office. It's easy for anyone to say that.
Yeah.
Now, for example, being a journalist, now any person can say, okay, this is how you should conduct programs.
Yeah.
This is how you should behave or do or manage a program. Anyone can say that.
Yeah.
Or be it a lawyer, be it a doctor, any person who's not necessarily in the profession,
Said profession, yeah.
they could easily criticize. They could easily pinpoint mistakes.
Yeah.
Once they get into the profession, they will realize how difficult it is, how serious it is.
Yeah.
Same thing happened to the current government. They first criticized the IMF. Early on, they said that they followed a policy. They inferred that they don't want to go ahead with the IMF, and they will have a completely different path. And I remember a particular key figure in the present NPP government. He said that we don't want to ask for loans. We don't want their assistance. We will. They will have to support us, Sri Lanka, on our conditions. That's how shallow it was, unfortunately. But later on, they realized the seriousness. And now, as Professor very correctly said, they're managing only. They haven't done anything significant so far. So far, nothing. They're just managing the program which was introduced by the earlier government to recover the economy. But again, now, when it comes to the IMF program, last March, we were supposed to adjust our electricity tariffs.
Right.
Now, the IMF has no business to create chaos to us. It obviously doesn't want to put pressure on the Sri Lankan citizens. They have no personal agenda. However, they want us to achieve certain goals in order to support, extend their support.
Yeah.
But in March, this government made their first mistake. They completely mixed up politics with governance. You shouldn't mix up politics with governance. If you are governing the country, you govern. If you want to fix the economy, you fix the economy. If you want to make the people happy, you make the people happy. But if you try to, you have to be extremely clever to do both.
Yeah.
But right now, we are not in a situation to do that.
Yeah.
And this government, unfortunately, they chose to play politics. Why? We had the local government elections in May, on the 6th of May, if I remember well. Then they did not want to go ahead with the electricity tariffs, the changes, back in March when it was due. Why? Because they knew if they increased the electricity tariffs, then it would have an adverse impact on their popularity.
Yeah.
They knew their popularity was anyway going down, but they knew if they increased this, obviously it's going to cause more issues. Then, so what they did was they delayed it until mid-May. And in May, I think last week of April, the IMF officials announced that it's kind of too late. Quickly do it. I'm just saying in layman's terms. Then I think now we are we are in a sandwich position. We have to increase in a higher amount.
Right.
Why was that? That was because we didn't do it exactly when it was necessary. Now we are doing it late. Now that is again a poorly calculated move. And I also have to add on. Earlier, as Professor said, if the COVID factor did not come in, yes, definitely the government would have had a plan. Obviously, President Rajapaksa is not an inexperienced leader. He's an excellent administrator. Obviously, he would have continued well. And we have to understand, regardless of party politics, during the economic crisis,
I'm going to cut you short from there because we need to go to a commercial break as well. So I believe we were looking into the economic crisis and the root causes specifically, and also the support of the IMF, how the current government is utilizing it in terms of short-term motives or long-term assets. So let's move on to another special segment where we discuss something that happened recently. So before that, let's take a short commercial break. This is TPS. Welcome back to TPS. We were discussing about the economic crisis of Sri Lanka and also with regards to the support of IMF and how it is going with current situation in Sri Lanka. But also we need to discuss about something that has been in the spotlight this recent, which is the election of the mayor of the Colombo Municipal Council, and we know that Rai Kalibalthasar from the National People's Power has been elected as the new mayor for the Colombo Municipal Council with 61 votes, and also mayoral candidate Riza Zaruk received 54 votes from the Samagi Janabala Vegaya. So in that context, we have Rai as the mayors of the Colombo Municipal Council. So this is something that will be the talk of the town for like a couple of weeks at least. Yeah. So I want to ask from you, how do you think, now they went for a secret voting process as well. So how do you feel like this situation took a lot of delay as well? And finally, we have a mayor for the Colombo Municipal Council, which is one of the most important municipal councils of the country. So what's your take on this whole situation and this whole landscape with regards to the local government election?
As Mr. Dunusinghe very clearly said, the government lost their popularity within just 6 months. This is the first time in the Sri Lankan political history the government lost their popularity within this kind of short period of time.
Right.
Okay, that first we have to understand. As he very clearly said, if the electricity prices was increased just before the election, the situation would have been much severe, right? So, and also I have to add something.
Yeah.
So IMF gave you only very small amount. It's about something like 2.9 billion.
Yeah.
But the important thing is not that about the IMF guidelines,
Right.
IMF certificate.
Yes.
Right, so that's important.
The framework.
That's the key. But this, but in frank speaking, the IMF is now giving more and more tight rules than we had the economic crisis in 2020. That's the key.
Yeah.
Because IMF does not believe the words committed by this government. So that's the reason why the IMF is tightening their everything towards our country.
Right.
That we have to understand. And for your question now, so this is a very crucial. First of all, we have to wish to our newly elected mayor, Ms. Rai Balsar. So that's the politics. And in frank speaking, this is in Colombo. In almost every time, the Colombo was the UMP major.
Yes.
One of the major. Whenever, right? Whenever, whoever, even MR, even GR, even the other, even CBK, Madam CBK, they were contesting the Colombo, went to the
UMP.
In frank speaking.
Yes.
So, but this time the entire situation was different. But still, the government had a very great majority when they were winning the general elections. But the thing have now changed critically.
Yeah.
Changed critically, drastically, right? So anyway, finally, so they had to secure the Colombo straight away. But in the 2024, when the general election was held, they had a very big majority. But within a couple of months, they lost everything. But finally, ultimately, I don't know how they got the majority.
Yeah.
But I hope that they would do something. But the current situation of the country would not allow them to do anything significantly. They will do something definitely. And also I have to tell you very clearly, the people of this country expected a lot from this government, right? As Mr. Dunusinghe very clearly said, the government, the present government by that time, just about 5%. So what was the reasons that 5% became the 68 lakhs? What was the reason? Are there any valid reasons? Just because of Faragali, just because of Corona, just because of economic crisis. They didn't do anything. The same people were contesting in 2019. So none was selected, none was elected, none came. So but everybody, 159 came in this time. Just because of that, they didn't do anything. So people believed their words.
Right.
So now people are asking the previous statements. Why? So no, nothing. So remember that point very clearly. So the present government, anyway, whether you like or not, so we have to wait until the next general elections and next presidential election. In between, you don't have anything.
Yes.
It's illegal. If you know the constitution, you don't have any other way. If the president is not suitable to run our country, then you have to bring the impeachment.
Yeah.
Right? If the government is not suitable to run our country, then you have to bring the no trust motion. There are no any other in between, right? In Sri Lankan context. So likewise, so we wish to the newly elected mayor, but I'm sure that she will not be able to do something significant under the conditions.
Thank you so much, Professor. So I am going to direct this question, the same question, but in a different way, and I want it very short and sweet from you. So just as Professor said, it was UNP who was taking the prominence always in terms of the Colombo Municipal Council. Now this time it's the NPP government and it's a brand new government. What do you think that they'll do differently, and in terms of your hopes, how do you feel like it'll be with the new mayor for the Colombo Municipal Council, Rai Baltasar?
Yeah, so to be very honest, we can't have any hope because they gave a lot of hope for the central government, and it's been 6 months and we don't see anything. We can't say anything. But their only line of defense is, it's just been 6 months. It's very difficult to convert the country, which has been, in their terms, in their own opinion, which has been the gutter for 70 years. So with that argument, even after 15 years, they might say we were in office only for 15 years, so we need more time. So that's not going to work. But we do congratulate, most sincerely we congratulate Ms. Balthazar. But again, as Professor very correctly analyzed, they didn't get a majority. And we had to understand these are local government elections, not the central government, not the provincial councils. Local government is a very significant body. Even before we got the electoral system, even before so our first elections with universal franchise where everyone could vote was held in 1931. 1931, but before that, around 20 years before that, in 1910, we had limited franchise. But local government, especially the Colombo Municipal Council, goes back to 1866. It was only in Colombo though. 1866 under Sir Hercules Robinson. So the reason to establish the Colombo Municipal Council was also because the British government said that they don't want the surplus money of Sri Lanka to be used for the welfare of the citizens and to send that, to keep that money, to hold that money for other purposes of the colony. For example, if they're fighting, if Britain was fighting another war, back then they were fighting some wars in Africa, to finance our money to for those wars. So that was the main reason the then Legislative Council decided we need a municipal council to govern our capital. Our capital, we need our own municipal council. So the municipal council came in way before we had party politics. So party politics was introduced after maybe probably 1930s, mid 1930s. But this is way before that, way before party politics was introduced. And yes, Colombo has been somewhat of a UMP fort. But this time again, we can see when the government is elected through one party, it's quite normal for the same party to win the local government as well. But still, this time it was proven they still couldn't get a majority. And until this morning, no one knew that she could become the mayor or whether it would be a candidate from SJB supported by UNP. The reason again was, as Professor also said, the government, the present government, the NPP government, they could not deliver what they said. The UNP was voted out. Why? Because we always said the truth. We always said the truth. We used to say the truth. I remember back then people used to make fun out of it, saying we will have a tough period ahead. So always people made fun out of it. But that was the truth. We told the truth that was the only government. 2022, 2025 was the only government led by President Wickremesinghe where someone came into office and then performed and then asked for a mandate. Whereas every other candidate, they first promised, they said that they will perform, but they came and they did nothing. I would say not nothing, but we saw the performance. But he was the only government, he was the only leader of the government who said, I have already performed, I have saved the country, now give me another mandate to continue this. That's it. But again, people didn't like it. People liked to hear, people liked what they heard. What they heard. And I think Professor could also agree on this point. That was because of lack of political literacy. Just as he very correctly analyzed, from 5%, they went to 6.8 million. It's the same citizens, the same citizenry, and same constituents. That means they were the people who supported in SLPP earlier. They were the people who supported President Citizen earlier. That means something is radically wrong with their political reading. So we should fix that.
All right. Thank you so much, Uthsara, for that take on in terms of the new mayor of Colombo Municipal Council. While I thank Mr. Uthsara Dunusinghe from the United National Party and also Professor Priyantha Morapitiya from the Sri Lanka Podu Jana Peramuna for joining us today for this valuable discussion. I thank all our spectators and viewers for joining us with TPS, where we dig deep into discussions that matter for the general public, where leaders and everyone in terms of politics can really answer your questions, the heating and relevant aspects. So not to forget that you can send us the feedback for this program and also other programs to our email feedback.ad24english@derana.lk and to our WhatsApp at 076 805 7933. We will see you again with another episode in terms of what is going on in the current political landscape and also the establishments in politics. Seeing you again with another episode. This is TPS and have a good night.
We believe it. Look who we are. We are the dreamers.